Marcelo. we bring all of our stuff. Everything is pre-packaged. Everything is pre-gated. We also bring our own garbage cans, our own garbage plastic. And the reason we do that, we don't leave things behind. We don't want gauze left behind in your trash. That's not what we do. We take that with us and we dispose of it at our facility, which is in Marshall. We do have another system. Once the blood is collected at the end of the drive, we have two providers that collect. They take the blood, have a window of 4 inches. Once it gets back to the water, it goes through underwater, and we test all the blood. If we miss that window, we dispose. By law, we cannot use that blood. If we miss that window. So, as nice and we can get back to. So, what I suggested to Steve was do a 4-hour, which gives us that window as well to get that product back. What I do is I do the external promoting of the blood. So I work with 1065 Big Red. I just met him. I had a radio spot for a memorial drive in Spencer 4 years ago. But we've been doing once a year drives. And he's promoting that, but he also promotes all of it. So I would be, I then also contact all the surrounding business and also the surrounding owners that we can make with let them know. What I would ask of the city or the board is any internal help you could do. Possibly sending the flyers that I would create, send to you. Once you sign off on it, then we'll go to print. But until then, we've done. But once that is done in print, just to send it out to your staff, your city staff, your city workers, and send them that flyer as well. So they know and they can tell their relatives, their families, whoever they would like. The other thing I wanted to talk about is a young man that a lot of you probably would recognize either the face or the name. His name is Malcolm McGregor. He's from Wisconsin. Malcolm lost his fight with cancer a year ago. January of this month, this year was 1 year. Malcolm, like I said, is from Wisconsin. My home, and the city really rallied around Sheriff Walker. They and a deputy. I talked to the mother and the father of Malcolm, and this June 22nd, so we are holding a memorial, and it will be in Wisconsin. It will be at Lincoln. I'm projecting $200. Remember, one donor makes 3 people. So that 200 is going to have this and this one. So I would like to ask the board if I could send this information to you, and if you could disperse it throughout the community, throughout the businesses within the community. At this point, we're at a time where we need to get a interest survey, which tells us how many people are interested. It doesn't commit them. But what it does is it gives me the opportunity to figure out how many phlebotomists I have to bring in. That's right. If I hit that projection of 200, I need phlebotomists. And they will come from Milwaukee, or Claire, or Lacrosse. They will all come in, and this drive will be a 6 month. So to get that interest survey back, I'm on a timeline. June sounds like far away, but it really is for us because we have so many things that we have to do. So, if you have any questions? We're gonna-
I don't know that I do. That was really important.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, because it came a lot. Does anybody know what the rarest blood type is? No,
That's the most.
it's most common, that's most useful because O negative O's can go to everybody. That 1%, every single blood drive we do, you can imagine how many blood drives we do. 1%. It's very rare. But the O's, we love the O's. Because they can help anything. Absolutely, yeah. It doesn't matter what blood. And I never gave blood before. I never did. I came from Cisco Fruit. I sold, the rest. And I never gave blood. And I got into this because my brother watching those watching. And I gave him more time. Fortunately, we did. But for me to imagine I would be but every day I know one. And we can talk about location for the blood drive. I am connected with the YMCA here in town as well. We are a nonprofit. So a lot of the YMCA's school, John Edwards, they would open the gymnasium. Blood drive. And no try. So I can.
When do you need a commitment?
As you can imagine, we book very quickly. I'm already booked into the end of June. So I'm probably looking at drive to July. So as far as timeline, I would say by late that I would connect with you. And you're thinking 11 and 5, 11 and 2, whatever.
I have a question. So if you're gonna use the school or YMCA, why are you asking us? I mean, are we hosting it? I mean, I'm a pastor of a church, and almost all my churches have done blood drives before, but they just, they've done it in the past. They do it every year on a rotation, and so I'm just kind of curious, why don't you ask whoever's gonna host it, or does this have to do with the badge
It's a combination of the
Oh,
badge
program.
and also the hosting. The badge against the badge is something I came up with when I came. We never did that. And it's a little bit of competition, and all of you guys know each other. And the chief knows the chief, and the sheriff knows the sheriff. They all know each other. And they all like competition. That's why I created. And it works. It really does work. The other reason is when I came to varsity, Fort Edwards never did a blood drive.
In the first location that I've been at, that I,
Right.
yeah, it usually,
They've done Red Cross.
Red Cross.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the school. And we are doing John Edwards. John. We just did a blood drive with it. And they collected 35 donors. Which is free. That's what it was. Correct. And we're always looking for those new donors because, to be honest, as we get older, we're on medication. Health wise, we can't donate. We got to keep that. And as soon as the youngest we can draw is. So when I create flyer for yourself, it would have a QR code. Takes them to the schedule. You just take the time and for it. There would also be a QR for parental signature. So if you're 16, you can donate, but you gotta have a friend. 17 and above, you do.
On your website, do you have any information about what medications would prevent you from donating?
Flyer will be that website. And it will state, if you have questions about your medication or what you ask. We have live 24/7. We're not the pre-recording this one. Don't do that. We're live. So somebody will put and we will answer. They can always call me. You will have my direct line. You'll have my email address. They can always call me. And I get that a lot. Or donors will call because they don't know. To do a whole blood draw, basic blood draw, at 5 to 10. It doesn't take the quickest I've seen it. And that's what. If anybody knows what double red is, where it is, they take whole blood and they take plasma. So that's a 40-minute. So on your schedule, when your donors go to our website, it'll say double red or whole blood. People that do double red. But our phlebotomists, when they do the pre-screen, they'll talk about them. If I have questions. And if they decide at that point they want to go double, we can do that. We'll figure it. Many years. I have a gentleman in Stevens Point who blood drives in the pump. And he gave 108 gallons of blood over his lifetime. And I told him, I said, I'm not much of a mathematician, but I said, how many pints are in a gallon? And we figured it out. And he held over 2,600 in his lifetime. And he's still giving. He's still giving. And we do give pins out for every gallon. That's what we do. So he had a veteran's hat on, and he had 108 pins on that hat. And I've never met that man in my life. And when he walked in, I went, wow. We started talking. then I started.
Right on.
There you go.
No question.
So I will stay in touch.
Yep,
I appreciate it very much. I will
Okay.
leave you your meeting. Any questions you got?
Absolutely.
Very much.
Can I read just from Melcom? Absolutely. Just a interest survey, if anybody here would like to sign, their name, phone number, and email address. The only reason the email address is just so we can send you information of blood drives that are being. That's all that is. But it's not a commitment. It's just an and if anybody does sign, can you do that?
Yeah, I'll just scan an email.
Just,
Yeah.
thank you, sir. It was a pleasure to meet you. Thank you very much. I will let you go. Back to you. Have a good night, guys. Thank you.
Just for, there's no ask, it's really just if the comfort level of y'all putting the village name and the police department against this effort, that's all we need, and a head nod. Because this just goes into day-to-day operations. We'll schedule a time, we'll do it. We'll give them this space or another space. So it was really just to get you a sense that you're comfortable having the village name attached to this endeavor, which, I'm saying, I'll quote Jerry Maguire. He had me at hello because it's a damn blood drive. It's like, come on, man, let's move on. That's next one. So we're good there. So as long as you guys are good with that, then Chief will coordinate. We'll pick a time in July. It'll go on the village calendar and we'll advertise it. So
So is everybody nodding?
Yeah.
I guess too. Okay, all right,
It's only what is the brand.
go for it. Thank
Keep
you.
it as brief as I can. So onto my report, the Christmas Eve crash on State Highway 13, the VA has reviewed the case. There will not be any criminal charges involved with that case. Based on the circumstances, rise to a level of so that's going to be a closed case and Lexipol update, update meeting policy is currently issued. That's 3 more than last month. I'm currently working on the time system policy, which is our state system of running license plates and criminal histories for that. I recently finished our CID audit. Crime Information Bureau, I might have put that. And part of that was making sure that we had a time system policy, which we probably did. And then when we converted to Lexipol, it's not in there as one of the mandatory policies. So I reached out to our neighboring agencies and have been working on it. It's currently a 48-page policy that I'm.
32.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Thanks. Very clear. But so I'm working on updating that. So we're getting those out as best we can. Of course, as luck would have it, we talked about sex offenders last month. And I got contacted by one of their wives shortly thereafter, saying that they had been close to the YMCA to pick up somebody, and GPS monitoring went off, and they called the house and sent reports. So I believe this is back out. This is not the most recent offender, but I just thought it was kind of ironic that I mentioned the fact that we weren't having any issues, and then 4 days later we have.
Do they just keep them for a day?
They basically, they don't take him at his word that he was there on good terms. So as much as you hate to say it, it's more of a punishment, just to make you go to jail, sit there for a day or two. The probation officer comes in, meets with them, and basically then kick them free. I mean, I've seen some pretty heinous stuff, up for revocation for, to send somebody back to prison, and it really takes a lot to get them revoked or off of that
monitoring. But it does prove that our monitoring is working, although, like, we were never notified. The police department was never contacted that this person was in their violation. They just contacted him directly and told him to report to jail, and he did. So I suppose had he not, then they would have reached out to us, but, I guess
Are you okay with that?
I am. I mean, in this case, this is a offender from many years ago. Of course, we asked his wife again, but no, I'm okay with that in this particular instance, because again, we didn't feel that anybody was in danger. It was more of a proximity type situation. In February, I attended the Wisconsin Police Leadership Chiefs Conference in the Dells, and I'll be honest, I've kind of been putting that off for a couple of years because I didn't, I guess, understand the full value of it. It was 425 chiefs, I think, or leaders throughout the state, so it was actually surprisingly very valuable. A lot of presentations on, you know, morale, hiring and retention and that kind of thing. So again, I actually found it more valuable than I thought I would.
WC, that's one of the word networking.
It's absolutely, you know, and I ran into people that, you know, I ran into my first chief down there. He just recently retired. You know, it was really good to be able to talk directly to members of criminal investigation. You know, to just be able to, like, oh, hey, here's our card. If you tell me, just call and do this, and it's like, oh, okay, it is worth its money, I guess what I'm getting. Our new squad car has arrived, to my surprise, and now it is sitting at the outfitter down in Portage, waiting for the rest of the outfit. That squad was ordered in September, and we didn't really have any indication that it's going to be coming. It's just come in, and, you know, hopefully within the next month or so, we'll be seeing that. I'm touching on this because here it's only I have to. Obviously, we've been short staffed.
Oh,
So I've been trying to adjust as best I can. I do have you know, some part-timers that are picking up a couple of shifts here and there. So you will see some. I've got Tim Rashevsky working some more later evening shifts that we normally wouldn't have. But with that said, we did have 14 shifts in February that were either non-staffed or partially staffed. Most of them being partially staffed from me, you know, filling extra hours. We did have some part-time hours, but that in my hour review. The CID audit I touched upon, and then I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at that February issue of the municipalities. It was basically all on hiring, retention, thinking what's out of the box, possible collaboration with other municipalities, just to try to be able to maintain. Am I expecting something? I just didn't trust you with that iPad appointment. So
You should have told all the trustees to bring the municipality magazine for February.
well, I did email out some excerpts from it, so. But and all the trustees get that. Yeah, it really, I mean,
So,
there's a lot of issues that I kind of look at pictures and set aside, but that one obviously struck my fancy.
It
I
was,
did. Thank you, Gary. Yeah.
it was a good one.
It really, I mean,
It was good.
obviously when it's on a topic that, you know, that interests you. Quite devastating that it's everybody that's experiencing this. Squad conditions, no problems with either. Like I hinted to in the body there, we had six part-time hours, you know, for coverage. Otherwise, the rest was all straight time. 14 traffic stops with 12 citations, 6 ordinance citations, and 2 criminal arrests. Other than that, I think that's all I have, unless you have questions.
Mm. That is. I have one.
Yeah, when are we gonna ride in the new squad car? We're gonna take a spin, aren't we?
I think that's a great idea.
As soon as we get it.
Oh, geez, right away.
That's a great idea.
It does everything. So, yeah. We'll let Caleb.
Your second year.
Yep.
Again, I just happened to see 2 semis again for us. Yeah, and one was a lease slash rental. I didn't recognize the name on it. Agra or Acra or I don't know. Wasn't a name I'd seen before. And another one, I was coming from the west and came up to turn left on Port Road. And a semi is right in front of me, getting into the left-hand turn lane, and I'm like, you can't do that. Well, he must have gotten to the Port Road, looked and saw the sign, and then he slowly moves forward, kind of in the middle of the highway, going, now what do I do? I guess, I don't know what he was thinking. Anyway, he finally moved on and went
And I
on.
see that quite regularly. with
do
the
you?
truck.
Okay.
Or the.
Yeah.
That's true, yes. You know, I haven't seen, the uptick yet.
Cause it
We-
hadn't been for a
No,
long
it
time.
really hasn't been, and state and everybody did a great job of signing that, and that's really, I don't wanna say eliminated our problem, but it's cut it
It helps. a lot.
drastically.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if we do start seeing, repeat customers, by all means, give us a call, we'll be happy to,
okay.
you know, and again, you know, with the worst part of being shorthanded is just that ability to sit there. You
And I
know, and
realized I hadn't seen it for a long time. So
Right.
yeah, I was kind of surprised.
I haven't been getting the other phone calls, so. It does start back up.
I wondered if you'd heard from anybody else.
No, so it's been really good. Weight limits will be on now soon. I think they're talking probably early next week.
Oh,
So we'll probably see some, you know, some people trying to sneak.
yeah. Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, no, thank you very much. All right, moving on. Ready for the fire department.
Alright, well, the month of February was, first of all, I want to introduce you guys to Matt Fletcher. He's captain on the fire department. One of the things I want to do is rotate different officers with the meeting, so get a good idea of what happens kind of behind the scenes, so. Hello. Right. Not all of you. That's right. February was a slow work for fire calls. Still strong. We're down from last year, which is good. We didn't do a whole lot. That it's winter time. Even our one training drill was canceled due to severe weather. We have a yearly wildfire refresher, and the person who conducts that training, he would have had to come from Portage County. So let's cancel that. One exciting thing we got was the Masons from Wisconsin Rapids donated it's this fire suppression device. It comes in a little case, and you pull a couple pins, and you throw it into a room, and supposedly it's good for like 5,300 square feet, and it can be a fully involved room and contents fire. And you throw this thing in there, and it kind of releases its aerosol and snuffs the fire out. So,
Interesting.
yeah, kind of hope I don't have to try it, but then at the same time, and supposedly insurance companies really, really like it because it takes down, it eliminates a lot of the damage we cause, you know, putting thousands of gallons of water into a structure. So rumor
Is it a
has it,
one-use-
I think, what?
Is it a one-use?
Yes, yep, it's one use thing. Rumor has it that if you use it, most insurance companies will purchase a new one.
Oh, good. That's a good recommendation.
Yeah, it was nice of the Masons to give us that. They gave one to each of the local area fire departments. This group of people. Yeah, activities for the month. We had a committee meeting, first responder training, and our training drill was canceled. But we're in good shape. The rescue was limping along nicely. I got my email address for fire report, so thank you for that. Rough numbers for our rescue truck. About 65,000 base price, plus about 13,000 for necessary additions, you know, like sirens and backup alarms and things like that. So we're at about $78,000, but that's our rough number. We still have a little bit of fine tuning to do, but we're dealing with hundreds of dollars now instead of thousands. So kind of keep you guys posted on the cost expenditure for that. It's not on the agenda, and we've had a meeting since I wrote out the items for discussion, and some things have changed. Am I allowed to speak about those now? Okay, yeah, this is just updates. So First Assistant Chief Craig Tester tendered his, I guess, retirement announcement for the 1st of April. 30 years of firefighter service. Wish him well. And we had an audit yesterday from the state that has to do with the money that we take in for the 2% dues program. And that went real well. They had a couple questions that they reached out to the town clerks of the Cranmore, Seneca, and the township of Fort Edwards. They just kind of wanted to see because those municipalities are split between multiple fire departments. So they wanted to see where the 2% dues money was going, how it was allocated for each fire department. I didn't have that information. But other than that, we're doing what we're supposed to, and the auditor was happy. And during or before our meeting, we met with a professional grant writer. We're going to open up a discussion and see where that takes us, because we've got some big ticket items coming up for purchase. You know, our turnout gear needs to be replaced. Our air packs need to be updated, and they're all in good shape, but it's like mandated updates. Turnout gear is only good for 10 years, and they're changing their air pack standards from 30-minute bottles to 45-minute bottles. So we need all new bottles, all new tanks, regulators, masks, the whole shebang. So our hands are kind of tied. It's a forced update, but we are going to look into pursuing some grants for that kind of stuff.
Is that a part of your regular budget planning to accumulate money for those things, or how do you guys do that?
Yeah, Boz started a nice capital outlay, not really savings, I guess, but my understanding is you really can't save tax money, but it's money, future monies earmarked for these big ticket items. It's not enough money to pay for all of them. You know, air packs probably be $70,000. And, you know, if we set
For
aside,
one?
pardon me,
What?
the air packs. Not a piece, not a piece, total. We'll see, that's at the end of PAX. First. But the same thing with turnout gear, that'll be 50,000 easy. I think we spent 45,000 last 10 years ago, so.
For how many?
I think that's for.
So really every year. it's getting 100,000 of money in order to replace.
Well, kinda, I mean, we'd like to buy them all in one order, because styles change, fabrics change, things like that, and then, we've tried that before, buying a couple sets of turnout gear, a couple here, and the color's a little different, the striping's a little different, and then
I
we're
was
kind of
thinking.
a hodgepodge mix of turnout gear, so.
I was thinking types of equipment, that you need the air packs one year, the next year you need turnout. Next year,
Yeah, it's kind of a double whammy this time, like the air packs and the turnout gear all kind of need to happen, one year and then one the next year. And then it'll be nothing for 10 years, so. Yeah, I don't know how we can stagger that out a little better. But that's where we're at with that. We're gonna work on some grant writing. And that's about all I have.
any other? One of the. Oh, geez. I was talking to Buzz about that too. Figuring out a way to do job shadowing, to do something to get younger people involved in seeing what each of your departments do, so that they eventually want to become a firefighter, or they eventually want to become a police officer. And I know it takes time, and I'm not even sure exactly what the way of doing that is, but I'm hoping that it's something that you can work on in the future to figure that out, so that you can have groups of people to draw on, or people that are interested. And I'm thinking, kids that plan to be around the area would be a good place to start. And it's something, obviously looking towards the future, not immediately, within the next.
I think that's kind of been on our radar with that, public safety club. And to be honest, I don't think that they'll have our stuff together enough yet. Time, to give it, we need to have that buy-in from the school, fire department, police department, and have that dedicated time and, I guess, dedicated personnel. And I think, we tried it kind of half-assed, the year before last, and, it didn't go the best. And we had a little bit of a, and I'm not saying anything, just on our end. So we kind of decided with the school that we were gonna give a rest for a year, so kind of regroup. I'd really like there to be a school person involved, where we just kind of had it like, Brandon would go in, and then there was miscommunication, like they would be having their meetings on his days off. So then it was just kind of, it was. And I think look to that future, and if we are able to add that fourth officer at some point, that would become one of, and it would be easier, to have a full-time staff member coordinating that, so we could say, hey, Jason, who do you have available on next Tuesday? We're gonna have a meeting, and it's like, firefighter there.
I wonder if identifying somebody at the school. And
Well,
I
and
don't
that's-
know
and that's-
if there is
Yeah, and
somewhere.
that would be my
Yeah.
ask from, is to have that pool staff member on board with, so we didn't have 20 people for the bike rodeo, and then. So, I mean, there's gotta be some accountability there, and it's real easy to tell the cop standing there who's got a T-shirt that he's gonna give you, that you're gonna tell him, but then like, Yeah, so there was some frustration level like, from the school, from Brandon, and kind of just get pushed away. The future, absolutely, I think that's something that would like to see. The face of how many of our members are influenced by, you know.
And I know you both have your plate.
Yeah, maybe,
Not that it's a high priority.
maybe you could help out a little bit with that, like, as far as job shadowing, I don't know if there's any liability risk involved in that. I mean,
Sure.
obviously you can't get into a fire, but can we take them on a truck, you know, even if they're down to the station climbing around and they fall off and you know, break their arm, I guess let me know what I can do as far as job shadowing.
I ran across one of our volunteer departments around here still has that, like, junior firefighters. I'm not sure if it was Grand Rapids or Vesper but I wonder if we narrow that down and make contact in that capacity, like, what are the things that challenged you? How did you pull that together and all that stuff? That'd be helpful.
Yeah, if I know which department
Yeah,
that was.
I'll
that'd be
figure
helpful.
that out. I was thinking maybe
I'm not sure about that either. Yeah,
I'll be back
I
with
don't
my
know.
belongings.
Oh, okay.
If it's okay with everyone.
I think so. I think that's-
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does the school have a career day or job fair day?
Just had one. Yeah. They held it at Rapids and Port Edwards participated, school. Sent kids over there. We as a government didn't participate, nor did a lot of other governments, didn't have a booth or anything there.
They used to. These
Yeah.
recruiters would be calling. They would have to-
Yeah, I mean. Yes. We just don't have enough open positions. And to go over there and say, come be a associate firefighter. We definitely don't have the system in place to motivate those kids. What we need to, and this committee needs to start the dialogue is, and it goes right to the fire department. I think a benefit of addressing what we call an associate. Can we pay an associate? I don't care if it's minimum wage. That'll motivate a younger member to actually participate that first year and see if it's even what they want to do. But when we say, come join our Port Edwards Fire Department, you're an associate for a year, you don't get any pay. You just got to go to the school. I think that you've just set a bunch of challenges that you're going to turn a lot of folks off. So I think department wise, you guys got to figure out how we can reduce the entry requirements, I'll call them. Village wise, we'll dig into the liability side of it. Can we build in enough into their pay where they have a bucket of money for associates? Not to impact operations. So there's two-part, but then I think, I'm not saying, you know, people are needing to do it for the money, but we're all busy and there's a lot of competition for stuff. And if I can tell a 18-year-old, hey, come hang out with the firefighters, you'll get $7, $8, $10 a night or an hour, whatever. And then you guys do with them what you will as an associate. I think we would get more bites at the apple rather than right now. Oh, what do you mean, free time? I'm gonna go hang out with the fire department? Just my thoughts.
Especially with kids now, they have sports every night.
Mhm. Yeah.
Jobs.
Yeah, so we just gotta think outside the box a little bit to try to draw them folks in.
This is Mary Barr. Could I speak? I'm just listening in, but could I speak?
Sure, yes, ma'am.
My name's Mary Barr. I'm just a resident. I moved here about 2 years ago and I'm just actually listening in from the comfort of my recliner. But I recently retired and my past life was HR and recruiting. And I've done it for many years. And when I lived in Mosinee, we had what was called a school to work consortium. And it was, excuse me, managers from the different businesses in Mosinee and a big presence, the mill. That was before Verso bought it. It was still part of Wassa Papers. I was representing Marshall. I worked for Marshall Clinic. And we got together and talked to the school district about what we needed from the students if they wanted to be hired directly at the clinic or at the mill, and what kind of classes and what kind of skills. And it also was a good way to work with because I'm assuming, I don't know Port Edwards school district, but assuming they have guidance counselors that help the kids when they're seniors or juniors, if they're going to go to college, if they want to become a fireman, what does that entail to, what kind of training do they need? Do they go to a tech? But it's kind of lights a fire also under the guidance counseling department to work together to, let them know that there are jobs close to home, and kind of get a good rapport going with the guidance counselor on helping the kids, know that there are jobs here. And I've been, since I've retired volunteering, I've been going to Lincoln High School and talking to kids about interviewing and applications, and just trying to keep busy in my retirement. But there are ways to connect with the schools and set up a meeting, and it's kind of a time suck. But when you're talking, maybe 1 hour a month or something to get together with the guidance counselors and job sharing, at the clinic, we couldn't have people come in and work in medical records because of HIPAA and things like that. But certainly, if there's jobs in healthcare they haven't thought of, and it was just a good way to get in the schools, get a foot in the door in the schools, so that the guidance counselors knew that there were people that would help, the kids find their path if they chose to go into firefighting or police or things like that.
I very much appreciate your comment, and I'm glad you broke in to say that. You said it very well. One of my past lives was in school to work, so I appreciate your comments very much. And I think you may head us down a path, or start us down anyway. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What were you saying?
Any other comments? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for your comment, Mary. One of the challenges we're having with the fire department is that it's a volunteer fire department. So to kind of sell it as a job in the area, it's like I said, it's a little different of a challenge, Yeah, a high school kid could use this as a stepping stone for getting a full-time job as a firefighter, which would be great. I would do that all day, every day. But I do need more members who are going to stick around on the fire department. So that's kind of the problem I'm having.
Yeah, I think you do have to decide what you can commit to doing that. Because I think introducing somebody, it may still work as a volunteer source. I don't know. You may have to think about it and figure out as an organization.
What about going, like, reaching out to NTC? I also taught at NTC for 10 years, or Midstate here in town, to the fire. Do they have a fireman? Is it an associate degree, or, it looks really good on a resume to say, yeah, when they graduate, yeah, I was an associate or a volunteer firefighter. And I know that's not ideal for your needs long-term, but even to fill in those gaps, and it really looks good on a resume for them to say I was a volunteer firefighter with the village of Port Edwards.
True. Yep. Midstate does have a great program. We actually applied for a grant to figure out a way to gain membership, along with the tech schools and high schools. We were denied that grant, but yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, and as far as our associates, we do have an associate program. We do pay on call or meetings at our associates. But yeah, to get a kid down there, we actually just had one graduate from Midstate from fire science. And as soon as he graduated, he's 21 years old and moved to Alabama. So yeah, we had him for a year, great guy. We'll take him back in a heartbeat, but we had a year of an associate and, you know, we train him up and move him on. It's a blessing in disguise and a heartbreak at the same time.
Does anyone from the village sit on the advisory board out at Midstate for the fire science? Because every associate degree or every degree program has an advisory board and they have usually people from the industry sitting in on the board.
I'm not sure if they sit on the Midstate board. I know representatives from Midstate come to the quarterly Wood County Fire Chiefs meetings. But as far as active firefighters sitting in on their advisory board, I don't know about that. But it's not just a Port Edwards problem. It's countywide, nationwide, all volunteer fire departments and even full-time fire departments are struggling to find members, so.
Right, and it's not just a municipality problem. I mean, part of the reason I retired early from recruiting was because it was like running into a brick wall every day. So I feel your pain. I'm just suggesting maybe people that you could, insinuate and get in on and get the kids before they're leaving and try to get some people.
Yep, great ideas.
Yeah, thank you again. Anything else along that line? Since I have a question for Jake.
What are the rules for where a volunteer lives? Is it a certain municipality or mileage from what's?
It used to be 2 miles from the fire station, but I think with Governor Walker, Proposition 10, possibly. Yeah, he opened it up to 15 miles for city employees. And that we kind of fell under that policy. So now, yeah, someone could be a volunteer firefighter for Port Edwards and yeah, over.
Yeah, you have that situation.
Yeah.
How does that work?
I mean, it works. It all depends on the person, if they come to all the drills and the meetings and they help out and they're really active, they're never, ever going to be the first person on the truck. But if they come and help us clean up and, roll hose and everything, great. Yeah.
Hold up, I'll be right there.
Yeah, I mean, fires last longer than people don't realize that after you get back to the station, there's still 2 hours of cleanup. So, yeah. 4 hours of firefighting and 2 hours, 3 hours of cleanup and paperwork. And yeah, it sure feels good when we come back from fire and there's some guy standing there with buckets of water ready to start working because we're all tired and cold. Yeah.
Okay, any more on that topic? Sure.
Madam President, or Madam Chairman, I'll be excusing myself for grandpa duties at 5:50.
Okay, we'll try to continue. Previously. Yes, more than. All right, let's move on to discussing old business. We're going to talk about the corrective action. 2020. Student chief and.
Yeah, this is just a work in progress. In your packet, you have not only Jason's, the chief's update 2 months ago, maybe, was it? I think so, in December. I provided one from February, basically hitting all the high points from the review of last year and a half ago. We're on track on the major issues, and actually based on the bylaw discussion we'll start having here, as well as the working out some kinks with the secretary on the reports, informal agendas and minutes and so on. I get those, so, and that's fine. We just got to make sure they keep coming on a regular basis, that's all. And he's caught up, so I'm good with that. So other than those 2 issues, the major concerns that are in those bullets, have been addressed and either been corrected or are ongoing fixes that haven't resurfaced. So I don't have any qualms with the actual overall investigation that prompted this corrective action plan. Yeah, there's still little issues here and there, but they're continuing to be addressed by the leadership from the chief on down. So it's really just to give you guys an update on any comments or questions that you want us to focus on. So
In progress, is the best thing to see.
Almost complete.
Yeah.
If I, just to, I don't kind of clarify things when the corrective action was first mentioned, I think there was some confusion, like my phone blew up the next day. People, oh my gosh, what's going on? And, we need the police and fire commission involved, and, all kinds of things got questioned, but nothing's flaring up, everything. This is just a follow-up on things that happened a year and a half ago, almost 2 years. Everything's good.
It's good to hear from. Okay, any comments from the committee or from the PFC?
Next Monday. And we've got some training to make in all of the house. So we're not conflicting. Much.
Okay, good to hear, and it sounds like
Right. Policy. We'll just make sure everything meshes or with what is in our policy.
Are we doing this in the most efficient process? Would it be easier to gather the people at the table, or are we all gonna separately keep having meetings and just kind of stick back and forth? And
we talking bylaws now?
Is there a way to streamline this, aligning all of our stuff? That would,
You're talking bylaws.
like the commission, the bylaws, the chapter 5, all of putting it all together.
Always putting everybody in one room together, but I think there's enough work individually that we need to get clear guidance to the groups involved. Otherwise, we're talking past each other. And you'll see with the bylaw discussion. So yes, I think after this round of meetings, this one, Pitt, Commission, the 13th, all those parties, as well as myself, I'll have a good sense of, can this be resolved without one meeting?
So what do you, when we're looking at this, what do you guys need from us? Do you want to know where town is there still instead of village, where there's a period missing, where maybe this
Yeah.
doesn't align that way? What does the board?
Sure.
What's our-
Do you want to go to that? Because we got,
well,
I mean, that's our last thing.
okay.
We still got Lexipol real quick. Yeah, well, let's knock out Lexipol, then we'll go straight to bylaws. Yeah. So on your Lexipol, you have a couple page document here that summarizes not only police and fire. This is kind of an evolving report that I'll start getting from both chiefs, probably on a quarterly basis. I don't need it monthly. There's some missing data, chief, concerning your tiers. I just need your count by Lexipol products by tier.
Yeah, that Lexipol website is kind of a wreck. I'm having a hard time even finding just the base policies.
Okay,
in there.
well, we'll sit down. I mean,
Tier level
yeah,
they are.
we'll sit down with Drew, and he's cracked the code, and he may be able to give us some best practices. But basically, I wanted to summarize that. Let's understand Lexipol. Lexipol is nothing fancy. It's someone took a very generic list of policies for police and fire, digitized them, and made them very gray, and then sold that to departments. So now we bought it 2 years ago, right at 2 years ago almost. And because prior to Lexipol, we had, typewriter written policies for both police and fire. covered a good portion of our things, but all Lexpol did was now gave us an opportunity to migrate that into a digital format. So when you see this list, an example, I'll look at the police, 166 separate policies. So the chief here, based on this tier system, and all tier means is tier 1 is a priority thing, state or federally mandated, and it goes down to tier 5, which is administrative. You don't really need it. How to wear a pin on your uniform, that'd be a tier 5 thing. You know, how to do use of force is a tier 1 thing. So the police, we have 166 of them. Fire, we have an equivalent 200 and some odd number, 223. In your packet, I believe also is an example of one, what a actual policy is through Lexipol. It's the rule of force one. So when the chief or a department goes through and he wants to go to a specific policy, that's what they would read. That's what their officers get. That's what's in their book. And it's like I said, it's digital, it's updated. And the goodness I'll say about Lexipol is that they, whenever something changes, either a best practice all the way through a federal change, the Lexipol system sends a feeder to us saying, hey, take a look at this. We have a change. Agree or disagree. So now the chief gets an email and the chief can review it. If he accepts it, he hits accept. And that product now goes to all his officers for their review to sign saying, I've read it. And that's going to be the same in the fire department. And that's the goodness about Lexipol is that we're not having to reprint a bunch of stuff. He hits a button, it updates it. Officers have a record of when they review stuff, and it makes it easier on the administrative side of it. A tool we have not gotten to in Lexipol for both departments is that the chief at a point in time can say, hey, test my guys on rules of force. And Lexipol has a built-in system. He'll send an email to all his force, and it'll be like 2 or 3 questions on rules of force, and it'll test the officers. Those results go back to the chief. And if the chief sees all the answers coming in, and if they pass, they fail, whatever, then the chief has an opportunity to do some retraining. So it's all internal. I don't get the report. He gets it. He'll get it. And it gives him an idea of, do people actually read these things? Are they absorbing them? Do I need to retrain? So that's a good tool. We haven't used that at all for both departments. We need to get to that level. But right now we're still updating the things. What I mean by updating, we're taking this generic gray policy that Lexipol gave us. We're comparing it to our village policy. Chief's translating stuff back and forth, make sure the language is right. And then when it's approved, he then sends it to his officers for their review and signature. When that comes back, that's your number there of officers that completed in the police departments. 90% of all the policies that were reviewed, whatever it was, 80, he's reviewed 80. He sent 80 to his officers. 90% of those 80 that he sent out came back with a signature saying, I read it, I acknowledge it, I'm done. So that's that number tracking. The same with our fire department. That'd be the same process that he would do. Their numbers there, they've reviewed 53. Of the 53, 24% of the force has said they've acknowledged them, or I should use number 41. 41 of the ones issued by the chief. You can review something and not send it out. That means it's sitting in his inbox. So once he sends it out, that's that 41 number. 41 of the ones he sent out, 77% of the force said we've reviewed them, we're good, and they're waiting on the others to come in. So it's a little time consuming. It's more time consuming on the front end where you're trying to translate the words to make the Lexipol match. So in that review, yes, we're less than 50% in both areas of reviewing the document. We've had it for 1.5 years. I got it. A lot of stuff going on. We're going to put emphasis on it for both departments that this needs to get done. We got to get the book done, the manual done, and then we'll worry about officers reading them, signing them, that type of stuff. But we got to get that done. That's going to take time on their part, more challenging time on here because we have all volunteers that come in. Someone's going to have to come in a lot more, refresh the documents, get them updated, and start sending them out to the volunteers or the fire department. It's a little more challenging there, but we need to get that done. Once we get it done, I'm very comfortable in seeing the product, talking to Lexipol guys and experts and our chief that Lexipol is a valuable tool based on the amount of changes in the police world, is a extremely valuable tool with the smallness of our department that we need to continue it. Right now, we don't pay anything for it. The League of Municipalities pays for us, so it doesn't cost us anything. So for us to cancel it, it's worthless. That's just for police. Yeah, so for police, we need to continue it. Once it's approved, continue it, keep it going, and then when the league finally says, we're done with paying, we'll have that discussion at budget time if we want to continue. For my fire department, though, I'm fully comfortable that once we get it done and get it migrated to a digital product, we'll hit the save button, we'll hit the print button. And I'll just be honest, and seeing the flow of information from Lexipol on fire, I'd be very comfortable. I'll defer to chief, but I'd be very comfortable that Lexipol goes away. Us paying for it. There's very limited value for a volunteer fire department to keep it updated. And I say that not because there's some ease of how updates will come in, is that man in this department, we have full-time department to our north, part-timers east and west of us. And those chiefs all get together enough that if changes happen in the state, he'll know about it. And then he will be able to pen and ink the change and move it forward. Now, if the village wants to pay $2,500 a year, so be it. We can continue. I'm just not seeing the bang the buck after we approve it, after they get it said. That's my take on it. Your comments.
Have a poor opinion. The program was adopted by the previous administration, and the way it was sold to me was kind of force-fed. It's like, we are going to change this. You are going to approve them. If you don't sign and approve them, be gone. So I dug in my heels. I got through 2 of these, and then I ran into a policy I didn't agree with. And there was no discussion on it. It had already been changed, and I had an ultimatum, and I chose not to sign it. So, yeah, I don't know. It indulge me a little bit so I can whine a little bit.
We'll listen for a little bit.
Bylaws, they've been out of date for a long time. We all know it. They need to be updated. It's a back burner item for me. I have a bad attitude about it. Especially when deadlines are being set. You know, if I have to update 223 policies by June, I'm gonna be real crabby. Updating them is one thing. Having people sign them and all that, you know, about half the people sign them, the other half won't, and that's just the way it is. I can't police this. I can't enforce it. I can't tell somebody you're going to sign it or you're going to be fired. You know, it's a volunteer organization, and I need people, and I'm not going to fire somebody over paperwork. So I don't know what to do.
Mason, you know, and I don't know that I understand exactly how Lexipol works enough. Can you pick and choose what you think is valuable to work on? Or is there anything? Maybe I should ask that question first. Matt, you were the
I see they didn't know a little bit about this, and Lexipol is geared for the police department. Plain and simple, it's really a police department thing. And we've got 13 guys, 9 that come to our department. Count on 4 for fires, 3 for EMS. And guys are killing us. This is a dying thing, and it's hard. So just putting it out there that
Yeah, I would agree. And the, like some of the rules I got hung up on were, you know, the problem with these blanket rules, I mean, even the state statutes, such a blanket policy, whether it's for Little Fort Edwards or for Milwaukee Fire Department. They're all the same, but you can't treat them the same. I know there's a gray area. Whether or not any bureaucrat wants to agree with me, there's a gray area. And the fact, the policy that I refused to sign was, no firearms allowed on fire department property. I have a shotgun in my truck right now, I shoot trap all the time. And I'm not gonna sign that and agree to it and enforce it on other people. We're in Port Edwards. If I have my trap gun in the back of my truck, I don't think that's a big deal. Yeah, I don't bring it into the station like Yosemite Sam, and I'm not popping off rounds or anything like that. And that's the kind of flexibility I want. Maybe I shouldn't even say this, even if it's against the rule, maybe some state statute monitor is listening right now. So be it. With the training requirements and the regulations, it's like Matt said, it's strangling the life out of the small rural volunteer fire departments. No one wants to volunteer for hundreds of hours of training and then have to update rules and state statutes and stuff like that. Then I'm kind of going off the rails here a little bit and whining a little too much, but I guess that's me being open and honest about how I feel about all this. I would really love to focus my energy more on updating our truck and our turnout gear and our air packs and recruiting new membership and fixing things that are broken. I don't know. I guess I get more excited about things like that, and maybe this is part of the job and I just have to shut up and do it. But yeah, I would.
Maybe Lexable would be a good idea for the Police and Fire Commission to handle and show us where to sign.
Actually getting into policy. I mean, we're there for hiring firemen, and again, it's about what we're limited to.
The policy and business.
I understand.
Exactly. Yeah. If it was my full-time job, yeah, absolutely. I could sit at my computer for hours on end and do this stuff, but I have a demanding full-time job, and well, yeah, exactly. We all do, families.
How do you guys get up? How do you get that from your training? So that whatever has changed and what you need to do differently or whatever.
As far as rule changes,
Yeah,
no, that's kind of flowed down through Wood County Fire Chiefs Association, emails or networking, the meetings, periodicals, mid-state, emails from the state, things like that. Lexipol is a good tool because it does it all for you. But yes, it is a big undertaking. And maybe I'm making more out of it than it needs to be. I mean, I saw the number 223 and I'm like, you gotta be kidding. 220, the police department has 160 and we have 223 for a volunteer fire department. Yeah, and maybe the tier levels, maybe I'm just, I don't have all the information enough to really
I know you
keep
too.
complaining, but
For everybody in the department too. So actually, it's good to hear that, even if you think you're whining. It's good for us to know exactly what your frustration is with that, and probably a reason why it hasn't really been dealt with.
yeah,
So
I have bigger problems to worry about. If this is something I have to do, I'll suck it up and deal with it. But, I guess just know my spirit.
I hear, I hear from both of you. Any other comments from this side of the table and then from Bob's too?
I guess I'll make a comment. You know, looking at it and trying to understand a little bit of the dynamics that you, and even before you, the fire department's going through and kind of highlight a bit its internal investigation. It sounds like to me that looking through the bylaws is, maybe highlighting some of the internal, I don't want to say division, I don't know what word I should use there. I would also think that working on the bylaws would be a way to avoid that in the future. But I don't know what the cause of the things outlined in this internal investigation, if it was the nature of the bylaws or the lack of bylaws or the training. But I would assume that, Jason, you'd have to discern whether going to the bylaws through Lexipol aggravates the situations that was highlighted in here, or if it has some future benefit in trying to avoid, investigations like this.
The problem that happened there was,
But, and I'm sorry, and would you say that the two bylaws of this is linked, or you think they're two completely separate?
The Lexipol and the.
Yeah.
bylaws?
No, I mean, the nature of the investigation. If they were kind of.
the investigation part, it kind of had to do with, the bylaws were being translated and implemented into Lexipol. But it was being done without any officer input. It was, I don't want to rat anybody out, but that's what, in a nutshell, that's what happened. The chief was working with a handful of non-officers, and they were updating the bylaws and the policies without any input from the upper echelon of the fire department. And those of us in the upper echelon kind of had a problem with that, because there were some bylaws and things going into Lexipol that we didn't agree with, that we had no opinion on it. It was just, like I said, it was just force fed to us. Don't care what your opinions are. These are the changes. You're going to agree to them or you're gone. It was what was said to me verbatim. So that's kind of that was one of the sparks that ignited the whole fight, which we did some corrective actions. As far as the bylaws themselves creating division, no, it was just kind of how they were being managed.
So anybody could have used Lexipol. It wasn't just, it's not just you have access, anyone on the department. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, it's a program like the chief has administrative rights. So you can go in there and change things and write policies and add them, delete them. My access at the time was I could read them and I could sign them. So if I had a question or didn't agree with it, I didn't have any input at the time.
Read and sign, but no comment on what was.
Well, I mean, I could ask questions, not through Lexipol, but which is kind of what we did. We had a meeting,
I guess, yes, I'm thinking here, I would have figured that you just put in your bylaws to Lexipol as is, not updating them in the process.
But there's kind of two things here, right? Lexipol is not necessarily gonna mean bylaws. Some of it's gonna overlap and some of it not. So Lexipol is the state mandated directive.
pretty much, yeah.
And then the bylaws is what they come up with within their department and how they're gonna operate.
Maybe we need to move on to, because it's almost 5:30, move on to bylaws specifically and.
I think on the whole Lexipol thing, just in summary,
Oh, okay.
I hear them and I wholeheartedly agree that our volunteer fire department should have no more than like 20 Lexipol rules. So there's a unfamiliar with Lexipol. There's something that was dumped on you by previous chief and administration. And where I will thump you on the damn nuts, and you should have talked to me sooner. But
Probably, I
this
mean,
this can be resolved. So
it's kind of a
So-
non-issue until now. and all
No,
of a
no,
sudden
no,
it's
no,
the
we're
most
good.
important
So
thing that's
what
out there.
what I would offer is that we as the village, I will take on refreshing the appropriate Lexipol and I'll pass them to you for review. Because we will cut it down from 233. Don't trust me on that. We will do it. Because all I'm saying is that we need to take full advantage of Lexipol to get us an updated policy and operational rule book. That's just mandated, that's liability, we need that. Like I said, once we get that done, we'll tear up the contract and say, thank you very much, Lexipol, we're good. We'll do that. I'm not gonna put that on volunteers, we'll do it with full-time team here. But you will get a say into all the commentary and did Boz mess it up, did he's off track, whatever. We'll first shrink it down to a manageable size, we'll get it for you to review. And then once you are comfortable with a very abbreviated Lexipol tool, just remember, Lexipol is like Microsoft Office. Don't think Lexipol's the Bible. Lexipol's, I could use Google Chrome. Doesn't matter. We're just calling it Lexipol. So once we get it down to a usable tool, and you're saying, I'm good with this amount, I'm fine with that, and this is what my team will enforce moving forward, and we'll just red ink it from that point forward. We get rid of this whole database driven, he's got to do stuff and whatnot, because he doesn't need to. That's our job, the full-time team. So I would offer we go down that road to take that burden off of you. But we still need to take advantage of something we're paying money for till we can get rid of it.
You know, I love the idea of alleviating my workload. The dangers of that is, and that's where the bylaws come in. You know, there's some wording in there. You know, like, and I'm not power hungry by any means, but I know there were some policies that in there where it was only whatever, you know, the decision for popcorn machine will be voted on by the membership, and you know, things were changed. Well, the decision of voting on, there's no vote on the popcorn machine. You know, the chief has ultimate authority over the popcorn machine. I'm just totally making stuff up. We want to fight for a popcorn machine. You know, where that's the only concern I would have with the village or the PFC or whoever taking over the rules would be, I would want it set up the proper way. I don't know.
Well, you're still in charge of it.
Yeah,
I'm just taking the physical labor of updating the damn policies off your shoulders.
okay.
That's
Can
it.
you not work together to figure that
I
out?
don't think that's a problem. I'm just trying to be clear on what,
Take the 10 commandments and break it down to be good to people and.
Yeah. that's as simple as it's gonna be. Yeah.
That's something you guys can work on.
Yeah.
And I'm strictly bringing it just because we as a village, unless I go back to your old policy book, that's probably about this thick of nonsense. And we use that, and you're comfortable using that, I'm fine with that too. But we as a village, based on liability and the professionalism of our force, need to have a product. This is the easiest product because it's digital and it's done. I will take the workload off you. I'll give you the marked up copy, say, are you good with this? And then you can say, I'm good with it. And then we bring it to this board and say, we're done. We've moved on from Lexipol.
Okay, yeah,
Is that good?
I would love.
It's as easy as we'll make it.
Can the two of you then in the next month come up with a plan?
I just need his password. That's all I need. Just give me your password and your login and you're done. I won't see you. I know.
So just a quick kind of clarification. One of the reasons why the numbers are so here and there so bloated is because some of them involve things like popcorn machines. Is that kind of how ridiculously they can get?
The chief at the time before him that we accepted this product on clicked all the boxes saying, I want all these to apply.
Okay.
And that's why you got 233. We have the control to say unclick, unclick,
Right.
unclick.
So
We do that.
There's a way to differentiate what are the state mandates.
Very
and
much
what
so.
is like-
No, no, very much so. Yeah,
Why it's here, like.
exactly. So we'll work on that. It's a process thing, but they're right. These are volunteers. We call them in to fight fires. I don't call them to do they do enough reams of paperwork with reports for the fires. Let them do that. This is administrivia. Let me do that. That's why you pay me to do this nonsense.
All right, I really do think that between the two of you, you can figure out what is most important.
Oh, good idea, Bob.
All right. Help you out whenever.
Yeah. Good. All right, let's move on to the bylaws.
For bylaws, and obviously chief will chime in, but, what you have in there is the chief presented me their updated bylaws that the department has gone through, refreshed after what, 20, 15 years, something like that, whatever it was. A while.
This is just a rough,
Yes, yes,
very rough copy.
yes. So he has provided that for my review. Once that was provided, a lot of entities were like, well, we need to be involved in X, Y, Z. Let's be clear on what the bylaws are. The bylaws are in some cases, not even in Lexipol. A lot of these things are nowhere near Lexipol, a product in Lexipol. They're a specific process that shows internal workings of our fire department when it comes to from a hire to a membership board to a truck committee to stuff like that. Stuff that we as a village don't even care about. I have no interest whatsoever to know what they do on their truck committee. That don't bother me a bit. That's them. So that's what the bylaws cover. So what we need to understand is that the village created a PFC. So a PFC was inserted into the process of fire department to village. And because of that, when it comes to hire, fire, and discipline, all we need to make sure in this bylaw, when in those three categories, they could do 13 pages of how to hire somebody in the Port Edwards Fire Department. They have a membership committee, they do interviews, they collect data, they do whatever. All we need to make sure of until we don't have a PFC is that at the very last bullet in the bylaw, it says the product will now be submitted to the PFC for their processing. That's as simple as we need to make this. He's going to do whatever he does with his membership committee. He's going to recommend people because there's no way that someone walks in off the street and goes to my desk and say, I want to be a firefighter. I'm going to be like, oh, just go talk to the PFC. No. And I apologize. I have full respect to the PFC. That's not going to happen. I'm going to say, start over there and go through that process. And then once they, as a team, recommend a person, then it comes to me to package up for the PFC for their action. So all I need to make sure in the bylaws, when it comes to hire, fire, and discipline, is that after they want to do whatever they want to do, it says, see the PFC. That's as simple as this needs to be. There's some language in there where I was like, yeah, just clarify this here or there. We need to take some stuff out. But I don't need 20 million agencies writing their bylaws, just like I don't want 20 million agencies writing the PFC rules and regulations. That's up to them. They want to do stuff all day long. Great, do it. But at the end, the PFC will say, we will present the recommended individual through our process to the village board for final approval. Whatever. So that's kind of where we need to take the bylaws. So to your comment, to look at the bylaws is strictly from that perspective, from you as a village trustee, looking at the bylaws, is there an area where you think is a little wonky that they are either neglecting to mention the PFC or to even mention the village board is in the process? So that's it. But because they have an interview on the membership committee, because they want to check trucks once a month, because they whatever, we don't need to get down that road because that's their business. Just like he doesn't get in my business how I operate the village staff for the other departments. So that's my 2 cents on that.
So the PFC manual, we already voted on that and accepted it from its creation, didn't we?
We did. In December, you guys presented an updated manual, but it was pre this.
Right.
So all we had was we updated chapter 5 fire, we updated PFC manual. Yeah, I mean, in motion. And now we're waiting on this because this was the last piece to make sure they're all sync. So this draft highlighted one or two comments in the chapter 5 of the fire manual for the ordinance that I need to either update or strike. So that's all this did, was you guys approved chapter 5 for fire last month. We need to do a line and ink on 2 sentences in there and then we're done. Chapter 5 is still good. This thing, other than some commentary, we'll go back and forth here saying, hey, just what does this really mean to me? And like you said, it's a work in progress. So other than that, this is with my red ink there, this is pretty much, I'm fine with this.
So
Yep.
what you just suggested is the opposite of what we already discussed for the process. Are you suggesting we change what we expected from the PFC for hiring process?
No. What the PSC stated to hire is totally appropriate to what our rules are here.
But I mean, it like, I brought it, the PFC, their part, like it starts out that the application will go to the clerk passes it on to the PFC. So then, like when we talked maybe like a year ago, when you were first coming on, there was like the talk of it being like the, PFC is creating more work or less work. So what I'm saying is how we're gonna streamline this to make it functional. And because everything that the board already voted on,
Mhm.
it's kind of the opposite of what,
I honestly, I don't look at it that way because this explain in detail what they do at their level for a person that walks in off the street, says, I want to be a firefighter. They do meetings, they do interviews, they vote, they do everything. The only thing lacking is the last sentence, provide this to the PFC or through the administrator. Because that's my job to package it up for the PFC. So it's, hey, this person has been vetted by us. We voted already. We've done everything we need to do and we're comfortable with this person. Here you go, administrator. And then I get it. I put it in the right format like these packets for you all. And I say, PFC, you have an applicant. Go forth and do great things.
That's the way I understand it, whether it comes to the clerk's office or
Yeah.
comes to the fire department, they do their thing.
Yeah.
The administration does everything just so they get funneled
Yeah.
for us, for the process that we go through.
but what if the part that, like, what if the PFC says no on this candidate? And you guys have already gone all this time, I could see, and I'm not suggesting that I should be in charge of the process. At all, but I could see like let me introduce myself and I'm interested in that kind of recruiting energy.
Mhm.
But why like the membership committee going through their whole process, but then shoot it down to PFC and for them to do their part, which is, I don't know what does or doesn't.
I don't see a conflict there.
Yeah.
It comes to us and something comes up, and not specifics, but something comes up, why we voted not to approve, it's still coming through the right.
Yeah,
steps.
because the only additional step that the PFC does internal is they do their own interviews. They don't take the interviews that these guys did. They look at them, but it's their own interviews. At the time of we've added a step with the background checks. We tried to get them to these guys before it comes to us. And that happens now, that the chief is getting the background check before the PFC sees it. So we've answered all that mail. So really the PFC is just a whole separate set of eyes looking at the same packet. They're going to see a recommendation by him. They're going to see a vote by the members. They're going to see background checks. They're going to see a letter from me saying, I support this. And then they are just going to put a second set of eyes on it and say, this person should be a firefighter.
Who sees the background check?
Just me, sometimes I'll share it with the assistant chiefs. It's not out for open display for anybody,
I
real-
think that's a part that needs to be real careful. I
We're
would want that
conscious
when
over-
somebody applies, they know that it's gonna be kept in confidentiality in case it doesn't pan out.
It is, and I destroy them. When I'm done with what I'm, yeah, we're real conscious with sensitive subjects, but, to touch on what you were talking about, that actually did happen with our approval process and we went to the PFC and, there was another piece of information that came out like in the meantime, after our approval process, and the PFC ultimately denied the candidate. But Gary's right, it did go through the proper channels. Those are the channels we have set up.
And that worked, is that what you're saying? The department wasn't exactly happy.
Yeah, I mean, there were some, because again, with the confidentiality,
It's hard.
you know, why did the PFC turn this applicant down?
Yeah, and we had it in closed session, so therefore it's needed. And that's
How it should be,
Yeah,
well, that's how it should be.
exactly. Already had knowledge of what happened and felt that it was a bad decision by the PFC. I'm not trying to hang you out to dry here, Gary, but that I'm just being honest, that's what happened.
This took a long time. But, so we're talking about all the steps.
Yeah.
I mean, this, in the meantime, somebody could have been married, divorced, couple of kids, and by the time that decision was made, and that, you know, we're struggling, so I would maybe just put that in the back of your head, that
And I guess that happened and took a long time because person every benefit of the doubt. That's the reason it took so long in this particular one. And again, this was an unusual one compared to what the normal process. Normal process should be the chief get us. Our process, it should never take that long, but this one did. And again, without talking about confidential matters, it's hard to explain.
Right, exactly. Okay. We should leave it at that.
nothing's really.
In this one case, the product you have from the fire department, the only synchronization that needs to happen, just like even with the PFC, is that there's an acknowledgement at the end of their process that it goes to the next level. What I got back from Scott, with great comments, but it was basically the PFC language in his product. And I totally disagree with that. And I, Scott, I know you're on, so you're more than welcome to chat. So I don't need the PFC writing in their bylaws, As long as we acknowledge that once it gets to a point where the chief's recommending an applicant, then it goes to us, and then I take it to the PFC. That's all we need to acknowledge in their bylaws. And that's it.
But we need to get the processes to align, meaning like in your bylaws, in the commission, chapter 5, we need to make that all align, not just everybody, you know.
Well, sure. Yeah, yes, but we don't need to have the entire bylaw section plus the PSC section be included in our chapter 5. We need to reference the most current bylaw PSC rules, and all we because our chapter 5 is like 2 pages. And it's not much. So I agree with that. And that's what we're waiting on all the products to see what little tidbits we need to add here and there. But just like I'm not asking the fire department to input anything into the PFC rules and regs, you guys want to add, to Matt's point, you guys want to add 60 days into your process, do that. That's now a discussion we got to have between the PFC, the village, because if he takes 90 days and they take 60 days, then that's messing up an applicant. Yeah, we don't need to do that. But until I see the process and I can lay it out on a timeline, I don't know how long it takes.
with this the way it is right now, moving forward.
Bylaws?
Yes.
I think what we need is any specific commentary you guys have, because like I said, it's a draft. So for us two to hear your concerns and areas, we read ink, and then me and him are gonna sit down and say, do we even need to address this? Is it a concern? Do we fix it somewhere? That's what I would offer,
Have,
you know?
have you had time to look and comment on the
No,
red,
it's
the red ink?
And I got it today and it's a lot.
Okay,
And I
well, and it's mostly, I mean, really, the changes are in red. Correct?
Yeah, well, yeah, in your package, sure.
Yeah.
And that's, again, that's not my final change. That's my thought of when I read it. Saying it's something we gotta sit down and say, hey, because I may have just misinterpreted something, we can fix it in 2 seconds.
And that's what the commissioner's gonna do, is gonna feed our, after our meeting, our comments. And then that's
My worry with all this, again, if I can whine for a little bit. You know, this is a very, very rough draft. It's just skeleton. It's kind of our old bylaws translated to the format. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I know there were some comments made and you know that it's poorly written and there's spelling errors. It's the rough draft. My biggest concern right now is, you know, Boz has a copy, PFC. Again, my phone lit up the next day. Yeah, I want a copy of those bylaws because I got some ideas and I just want to tread lightly, I guess. I don't want, you know, and now it's part of our meeting, which means it's public record. I don't want 100 people showing up at my doorstep saying, hey, I got some ideas for your bylaws, you know, I think you should add this and you should take out that. And, you know, I notice it doesn't mention, you know, this or yeah, it doesn't mention popcorn machines enough. Exactly. You know, it's already a cumbersome process that I consider a back burner issue. And so if everybody could just be gentle with their input, if you want to have,
don't use our super size or red.
well, I mean, if I could be a jerk for a minute, you know, if everybody wants to have input in the fire department bylaws, they can apply for the fire department, go through the PFC, go to entry level, go to firefighter 1, officer school, firefighter 2 certified before officers school. They can work their way up the ranks, become an officer, and then they can have pump operator. They can have all the input they want into the fire department bylaws.
Then you're on the fire department, by the way. Take all the votes.
Suggestions and then
I'll
go.
let you know.
Good.
I'm not trying to be a jerk, but yeah,
I get
at
your
the same
point.
time, I don't want input from people who have maybe set foot in the fire department once.
All right, let's come next meeting then prepared to look at the red ink. Really, I mean, that's what's
Well,
changing things.
That's
with
gonna
comments.
comment us out a lot further. What if we give our stuff, get it to
Send it
Bob,
back to me, yeah.
and then he can,
I'll let- and you
Yeah.
go
Yeah,
down.
either by email, if you can drop by the office, say, hey, I read it and
Got
just
such a-
2 things. Yeah. And then I'll have the right master document that I'm gonna sit down with them at their next meeting and chat about it and see what we can do. Cause I didn't make clear, I am very comfortable with the way it's written right now, even if it's a draft. I'm very comfortable that it addresses what they need to do their business. Except for those little red areas where we just need to clean some language up to make it linked to us and them. And that's all we need.
That's really.
It's minimal. Yeah. Yeah, so it's not like it's a painful product, but everyone needs to take a swag at it, just to look at it and give me your 2 cents, because I might have missed something or misinterpret something. Or you guys have lived there longer with it. So. I don't think it's gonna be that painful. So.
Next meeting. For.
One person's asking are you still online to ask a question?
I am, and I'm not sure this is the correct forum to ask this question, but I just have a question, and I think it has to do with public safety, and I'm wondering, so I have a neighbor that has 5 dogs and 3 are pit bulls. And when I questioned Scott about why she can have pit bulls, he said as long as the homeowner provides proof that they have insurance. So my question is, what is the purpose of someone having insurance and being allowed to have pit bulls in the village? And the reason I'm asking is because these pit bulls have come on my property 3 times. One time chased me into the house. One time the neighbors couldn't unload their truck. They're moving in because 2 of the pit bulls were in their yard. And one time the pit bull trapped my grandson in the garage, growling and wouldn't let him out of the garage. So they've been aggressive. And my question is, so does that insurance release the city from liability? So when I questioned the owner, I said, well, your pit bull trapped my grandson in the garage and was growling at him, because as a dog owner, if my dog ever growled at a child, I'd want to know about it. I said, your dog growled at my grandson. She said, well, don't worry, he's had his shots. And as a grandparent, that's not reassuring to me that A, your dog has had its shots, your pit bull, and B, you have homeowners insurance letting you keep this aggressive dog in, and this is right, I live right by the splash pad, by the Y. No, there's children everywhere. So my question to you is, what is the purpose of this homeowners insurance allowing people to own aggressive dogs?
Is
And
that
if you don't know, that's fine, but if you could direct me to someone that could help me.
Are you in contact with Chief Drew? Does he have your contact information?
I have multiple, we've
Okay,
gone back and forth multiple times. And I asked him very recently the same question, and he said, I don't know the answer. And that's the reason I'm asking you folks, is if
No
someone
worries.
can.
Can I just get your name so I can have a point of contact to talk to Chief about this?
Mary Barr.
Mary Barr. All right, Miss Mary, what I'll do, it's more than just a liability issue. We have more than that regulation. Let me get with Chief. We'll give you a call and we'll give you the specifics. And it's well beyond just, that there's a fencing requirement, there's a muzzle requirement. We have about a page worth of stuff in our ordinance. So we'll sort it out and get you an answer, and we'll address the problem.
All right, they're fenced, she's well aware. I just, I moved here to be closer to my grandkids. And quite honestly, I can't let them go outside and play here because I have pit bulls chasing us around the property.
Okay, thanks for joining our meeting today, and glad you were able to bring up your issue, and I'm sure Buzz will take care of that. So,
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
any other business that needs to come before the committee since we're working on it? Okay, if not, our next meeting will be the 4th of April at 4 p.m. and no other business, then I adjourn the meeting. We're done.
Right.
Thank you all for and patience and input and warning and
After the meeting, we have our retirement fish fry tomorrow night. We'll get together and moderating, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for right here. But just the olive branch of the PFC, like come over and
Gary will be there for a free meal.
codfish.
Not as bad as when you got me on the record.
Yeah.
for the invitation.
You can invite us.
I do need, whoever can talk to Mr. Chester, I need his badge so I can do that flag thing. Okay. I should have asked for it when he was chatting with me. Okay. Just whenever you get a chance. It's about 3 weeks to get the plaque done. Now, I know Tim was owing me a contact with the whatever, if we're gonna do the other thing, that's what. Sure. So I'm just getting a generic one like we did with Pat right now. I'm not buying it, but if you guys tell me, hey, we're looking at this. I'm just having a quote, so if I know the price ballpark, if we're gonna go the other route. I just did an internet search and like $600. Yeah, I'll fucking go to Home Depot and get them a damn. We'll make a plaque for them. Yes. So, no, take care of this Lexipol. Oh, did you sweating it? No, that's too easy. I got you. I just do need, just get me, cause I'll sit with Chief and we'll plug it. Give me your username and password, send me a text. Do it right here. We'll get into it and, we'll clean up, and then basically I'll just do, just print them, put them in a binder, send them to you, and then you just take a real quick look at them. And I'd even go to the, since we're not gonna keep the system, I'm fine with, once we print them, we'll make a copy for every guy over there, we'll put a cover letter and they just sign it. They just say, yeah, I've at least acknowledged. I don't need them to say they agree with them. I just need, they've looked at them. That's all we need to say.
All right.
And keep it as simple as that. Yeah.
I just have a chip on my shoulder about this whole thing anyway, so.
I'm not, I haven't been, even for our police, I haven't been a fan from the get-go, this is just a making tool for the company. So I got it, but for them, it's an easy sell because they ain't paying for it. For you guys, no, I don't do waste your money. I'd rather put $2,500 in your capital improvement. Yeah, so I'm with you there.
Wondering, cause see, I know that